Good morning and welcome to A Closer Look. I'm your host, Linda Fontaine. Today, my guests are representatives. I've got Representative Micah Van Huss with District 6, which is the Washington County area, and Bud Hulsey with Sullivan County. District 2, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thank
you
you
for having us, Linda.
First of all, what I want to do is play Let's Get to Know Our Representatives, if you will. Bud, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to the position you are now. What made you interested in becoming a representative?
Well, I'm actually not from Tennessee. I was born in Arizona and raised in southwestern Colorado outside Durango, and went to college at Bob Jones University in Greenville, South Carolina, and moved up here from there.
Wow.
And then I hired on the police department. I was here 36 years in the police department. The last 25 of those I was a watch commander here. And really set the foundation, I think, for a whole lot of other things, including the position I'm in now. So I retired, and about 4 years after retirement, I thought, well, I don't think I'm really done with public service yet. So maybe some of the experience that I had for 36 years and what you saw and the things you dealt with would benefit me in a field down as a state representative, which is what they call lawmakers. And of course, in the police department, there were lots and lots of things that you dealt with that you thought were wrong, or law that was written wrong, or codes that you felt were unconstitutional, or law that's biased. So I thought, well, this will give me an avenue to see if I can fix some of those things. And so that's kind of where my heart's at. It's not really not making new law.
Good.
People don't understand it. I don't think that every law we pass affects somebody's liberty some way or another. So I'm not interested in a whole lot of new law, but I certainly am interested in fixing things that are broken and law that particularly is biased. Micah would agree with me that law gets its righteousness from its equity. It applies to everybody equally. So we have a lot of law in Tennessee that is biased. Those are the kind of things I like to fix, and so that's kind of what drives me and kind of where I'm from.
Excellent. So Micah, tell us a little bit about your story.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I had never dreamed of being in politics, but in 2012, came home from Afghanistan, got married to my wife Annie, and God opened the door. And I guess the one sentence I would sum up why I ran is what Edmund Burke has attributed with saying, the only thing necessary for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. I had been in the Marine Corps, a couple of deployments to Iraq, and then I was working for the Department of Defense, deployment to Iraq and Afghanistan. Came home, and in 2012, God opened the door, so my wife and I and our handful of volunteers worked very hard and ended up winning, so here we are. It's been an interesting journey. You know, folks ask me what I enjoy most about being in Nashville. I mean, it's not an easy answer. I mean, there's things I enjoy, things I don't. The thing I enjoy the most about being a representative, representing my folks in District 6, is standing up for what's right. There's a lot of arrogance down in Nashville. Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. There's a lot of arrogance, and so standing up for what's right is what I enjoy the most about it. And I'm thankful to the folks of District 6 for putting their trust in me, and here we are.
Excellent. Well, you too. I'm so proud to say that you're our representatives. I like your answers. Okay, so tell me about a little bit about some of the concerns we have in this area. What do you think about this? I mean, I hear over and over people talking about small businesses or the opioid crisis, healthcare, different things like that. Do you have any concern that maybe is close to your heart that you're thinking about, or that you hear most about, or that you want to work on?
Those are things that we have begun to try to address in the House, actually. And of course, you know the steps we've taken, the limitations we've put on prescription opioids, which is we're supposed to be right in the epicenter of that. And I think we'll continue to try to do reasonable legislation that will slow this down. There's always another side to that too. You have people who have genuine chronic pain, and now we get a backlash for those folks who say, look, you know, my doctor can't prescribe what he needs to and what I need. Look what, you know, the effect it's having on me now. But some of those things are absolutely necessary to slow down the addiction rate. There's a lot of other things that are near and dear to my heart from a law enforcement background. I am the chairman of a committee over corrections.
Okay.
And which is really interesting because there's a bill I have right now actually that I'm hoping it will set the groundwork for the governor because he's passionate about reforming sentencing in this state. And all the studies show that if you take a nonviolent guy and put him in the penitentiary, if you keep him long enough in there, then you'll make him violent. I mean, he will become that way. So there is a proper time to release somebody. There's a proper sentence to serve where justice is served, but you got to find that middle ground. And then you have to have somebody in an oversight position when they get out. They have to be supervised for at least 12 months to get back in the groove of getting a job, pulling their own weight, paying taxes, fitting back into society and not committing crime. The studies show that when you do that, the recidivism rate goes way down. And right now we're keeping a lot of people in the penitentiary that are nonviolent that I think should go. And I'm just as passionate about keeping the Class A, B, and C violent people in for at least the amount of time that the statute demands that they stay there. And what we're running into is we're getting people who, because of good behavior, and they go through programs, but they're coming up with what's called a red date. That's a release eligibility date. And they're getting a release eligibility date and therefore getting a parole hearing sometimes a year and 2 months, a year and 4 months before they've ever served the minimums what the statute demands.
Oh my.
So those things frustrate me because you drag these victims through this again way before they should ever have to deal with this. So this bill says two things. We're going to keep Class A, B, and C violent people in at least of what the statute demands. And the non-violence and the D's and E's, felons, we want to set out on a program of supervision and get those folks back integrated into the community where they came from.
Where are we at with that?
Well, it hasn't been put on notice yet because I'm waiting on a physical note. Micah can tell you about physical notes. But
What does that mean?
it means that there is a process from physical review where they look on, is this going to cost the state money? And if it does, they'll tell you in their opinion what the amount it is. Last year when I ran this bill, I didn't have a release eligibility for the nonviolence, and they put a $34 million price tag on it.
Wow.
So I'm waiting for the physical note to come because I think in the end, if we release folks who are eligible who are nonviolent to keep the ones who are violent in, I think I should end up with a positive physical note, where we not only will cost money, we will save money. And most people don't understand what it costs. Corrections is the number 3 budget burner.
For the state?
For the state.
Wow.
It costs $82 a day to put somebody in a state penitentiary. It costs $15 a day for somebody to be on supervision.
Wow.
So taxpayers are paying a lot of money. And somebody said, it wasn't mine, I wish it was, but somebody said we need to put people in the penitentiary that we're afraid of, not that we're mad at.
All right.
And that's pretty true.
Yes, I agree with that. Okay, so that's what we're working on right now.
Yes.
All right. So Micah, what are you working on right now that is near and dear to your heart?
Absolutely. Well, we're in the House, hopefully near the end of working on the heartbeat bill, which would ban abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected. I've been working on that for 3 years now. Representative Hulsey has been very supportive over the last couple of years, and so I'm thank him for his support, and the area legislators, which have all been on board. We believe very strongly in life up here in Northeast Tennessee. But it's been a long process, and it's been the most emotionally heavy bill that I've carried the last 2 years. A lot of fighting, a lot of work, very, very tired days. The last 2 years, which is just a lot of work. But this year, we've had so much support from the folks of Tennessee, the grassroots movement of folks who believe in life. And so this year, folks have gone before, folks have prayed for this, folks have fasted for this, folks have worked for this, come up to Nashville. And it's just been a humbling experience, and the value that folks have put on life. And so we've passed it through Health Subcommittee, Health Full Committee, and this coming Thursday morning, it will be on the House floor. and I'm hopeful that we will pass it as a House, and then it'll move on to the Senate. But we cannot continue to allow the slaughter of the unborn while we hope for better circumstances, and we should not cede this responsibility to the next generation years down the road. I wasn't in politics in 1973 for Roe v. Wade. I wasn't even alive in 1973. I am now, and I aim to fix it.
Excellent. So I see the two things that are most passionate with you guys. And when we come back in just a minute, I want to talk a little bit more about some other things that are just important to this area in general, and see what we are doing about that and what we can do to, you know, maybe make things a little bit better for the people here as far as employment goes and things like that. I know that there's a lot of concern with small businesses. I see for everyone that seems to be opening, I see something closing, and what we can do to maybe bring some more businesses into this area, hopefully. So we'll be back in just a few minutes after a break from our sponsors.